So there's this video of a woman stating how much she charges her husband for his stay-at-home mom services.
Everything I charge my husband for my stay-at-home mom services. I wrote it all down so I can go ahead and explain. My husband gets paid tomorrow, so that means that he will pay me out tomorrow as well. I charge him $20 per load of dishes that I do. I usually do that about 2 to 3 times a day, 5 days a week. That's about $300 a week. I charge $35 per load of laundry. I do laundry about 4 times a week, that being about $140. $60 per bathroom per clean, and I usually do that about 2 times a week. I kind of go in and do a deep clean. That ends up being about $240 a week. I charge $100 to clean all of the floors. It includes sweeping, the mopping, and that includes every bedroom. So I don't think that's bad. I do that about 2 to 3 times a week, so we say about $300 a week. I homeschool the kids, so I charge him $400 tuition each kid each week. So that's $800 a week for the kids, $50 for my car shuttle services because I take the kids to art class, to gymnastics, to baseball, soccer. That is $150 a week. $75 for my grocery shopping fee. Does not include the groceries or the tip. But I only do that once a week, so that's not bad. Let's see. $50 for my personal chef services. That is about 10 times a week because he makes breakfast, so I make lunch and dinner every day. It ends up being $500 a week for me. That's from Monday to Friday because I don't work on Saturdays or Sundays. I charge him $200 a week for my breastfeeding fee because I still breastfeed the baby. I also charge a $10 daily sweeping fee of the house to kind of just upkeep it. I do that 5 times a week, and that ends up being about $50. So the total that I charge my husband every week for all of my stay-at-home services is about $2,700. If he wants to save money, he can help me do any of these tasks, and he can save money. It doesn't leave much for him at the end of the month, but it does give me enough to pay my mortgage. It gives me enough to pay the car payment, car insurance, water, electric, groceries, stuff like that I need to get taken care of. So ultimately, it does kind of make me the breadwinner in my household.
Now, this is a phenomenal idea. Being a stay-at-home mom is unpaid labor. It is just as difficult, if not more difficult, than a 9-to-5. The reason why women's labor is undervalued is because it is unpaid. Remember that man who had the audacity to tell his wife that she had been riding on his income for 10 years as if his misogynistic ass is doing her a favor? Remember that woman?
You think you're justified?
I've been what? I've been doing what for 10 years?
You've been riding on my income.
I've been riding on your income for 10 years. Being a stay-at-home mother, with you wanted me to...
Oh, we need to have a very important conversation about this because you want to talk about how she's riding your income, but you don't want to talk about how she facilitated your ability to make one. Listen, some mothers stay home by choice, and some couples make the mutual decision that that's what's best for their families. But others are forced to put their dreams on the back burner in order to further their husbands' careers. So many women have been forced to choose between having a family and having a career. But so many men have gotten to have the family and the career because there was a woman who was willing to stand by him and handle one so that he could go and be successful at the other. Let me ask you a question. How would you have stayed late in order to impress your boss and get that promotion if your wife wasn't willing to put your children to bed every night without you? And do you think you would have been considered as good of an employee if you had to leave work every time your child needed to be picked up from school with a fever? You never had to consider how to balance parenting and working because you only had to focus on one. And you weren't preoccupied with thoughts of grocery shopping, school projects, and sports games because you didn't have to be. Being a stay-at-home parent doesn't mean you don't work. It just means you don't get paid. So you're quick to call her lazy when it's not like she's working less, but you're more confident when you're the only one with the sense of security that comes from feeling financially free. And being a stay-at-home parent is often a lifelong sacrifice because it's not like she just gets to go and follow her dreams once the kids are grown, because then she's entering the workforce later in life with little to no work history on her resume because we unfortunately live in a society that doesn't consider holding it all together to be a skill. You don't like that someone is spending your money, but have you ever considered what it would cost you to hire a nanny, a maid, a chef, and a personal shopper? And is it really your money if you stop someone from earning in order to make sure you could? You're fine with being the sole provider when it comes to escaping your responsibilities at home, but you're quick to say she has no value because she makes no money every time you want to fight. So let me leave you with this. You may be the one who makes the money to buy the groceries, but she's the one who turns it into a meal for you to eat. You may be the one who makes the money to pay the mortgage, but she creates the house you go home to. And you might pay the bill to sign your children up for sports, but she's the one who brings them every day in order to make sure they can play. So before you want to go spouting off about all the things that you bought, you may want to consider what she gave up so you could.
Now, I personally think women should start charging for their stay-at-home mom services. I will be referring to stay-at-home mom as SAM or SAHM from here onwards. In the actual video, the one about the woman stating how much she charges for her SAHM services, she was joking because she actually said at the end of the video that she works, which I think is even more insane. She works and performs household chores too. I would never recommend a woman to do that whilst having kids. Absolutely not. I do not recommend women work, do household chores, and raise kids. Back to the point I was making about women charging for their SAHM services. Being a SAM is a very dangerous job that requires a ton of security. If I could go through the screen and reach out to her, I would scream in her ears to increase her prices because the prices are way too small. If you are at the corner somewhere screaming, "What about love?" Shut up. Shut up. Shut up.
You shut up! I'm so fucking scared right now, you shut up!
I am not trying to hear this right now. We are very strategic here. We do not put heart over matter. We put mind over matter. And some women in her comment section agreed with me. I want to read this comment. This may be satire, but it 100% puts into perspective how much SAMs actually do, and that it's actually a full-time job. There were so many great comments, but there were also very negative ones, and that is why I made this video. So let's go on to the negative comments. Look at this comment right here. It says, "My husband was listening as I watched this and said, I don't know what you're watching, but you should probably keep scrolling." And I know she said this to be funny, but it wasn't funny at all. Her husband seems like a bright, giant red flag to me. Let's move on to these two comments right here. So does he charge for room and board, water, gas, electricity, car rental? Then the other comment says, "My husband tells me, you got a roof over your head, don't you?" These are the kind of stupid comments I dislike, and there were many of them implying that she has a roof over her head and that's enough, blah 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 babes. And that's these. What does that have to do with the SAM services she's providing? What does that have to do with the SAM services she's rendering? When you clock in at work, doesn't your employer have a roof over his head? Doesn't he pay for electricity? Doesn't he create a safe space for you to come and work? It's literally in the job description, and employers usually list that as a benefit to attract the best candidates. It's literally there. We provide a great working environment. Literally. So saying he pays the house bills, electricity is nonsense because he also benefits from the bills he pays. Doesn't he live in the house? Doesn't he eat the same food made from the same groceries she prepared? If he weren't there, wouldn't he still pay the bills? What a dumb take. When you pay for a private chef, you also pay for the groceries, don't you? This is such a retarded take. I want you to see something right here. So there's this woman, Susie G, who made a comment about the roof over your head thing, right? And Dave comes in and is like, if he was living alone, even if he was a single dad, that doesn't mean he would suddenly have to hire someone to do everything. Men can do, clean, iron, wash, etc., etc., all by themselves. Crazy, hey? Then Susie G comes in and says, then why don't they do it when they are married? Wow, Dave, tell us. So Dave, tell us why. I know, because most men don't have to, because they have a woman to do all the free labor. Also, they're using weaponized incompetence to get out of helping. Most men aren't socialized to do all the shit you mentioned here, Dave. They are going to break down if they have to do even a quarter of the work that women do on a daily. That is not the only spasmic reaction from men. As usual, the men were in the comment section doing what men always do. For example, Terry here says, I think you're full of crap. Then James says, you would be divorced if you were married to me. Then Brian Scott says, there's something wrong with you. Men can dish it, but they can't take it. I was gonna end this video here, but then I saw this woman's comment and I was like, I have to add this to the video. She says, wow, this is a really great example of being completely entitled. I would never charge to be a mother or wife. That is the life I chose. It is an unpaid, selfless job. And oh god, It's pick-me's like this that make women empowerment movement so hard because they take us back like 2,000 years. I have some words for her, but I'll reserve them. Instead, I'll let the replies do the talking. Okay, to sum this up, I think Sams should absolutely charge for their services. If men have a problem with women staying in their houses, then she can just not stay in his home then. She can live in her own house and commute or something. But if he wants her there, he has to pay for her presence too. But I guess that is not a conversation men are ready for. They want you to be there waiting on them hand and foot like they're lap dogs. This was such an enlightening post, although she ruined it by being the breadwinner. I hope more women wake up and start charging for their services. If more women did this, the number of men wanting traditional wives would shrink by the numbers and in record numbers, because men can dish it, but they can't take it.
Thanks for coming in for the interview. I was just hoping to review the job description with you. Yeah, I know we've talked about raising kids together, so I'm happy to talk about some of our expectations. Alright, so you'll be on call all week long, and you'll handle everything going on in the home. That seems doable. Right, you'll handle the cleaning, so things like vacuuming, washing the floors, making sure the counters are cleaned, picking up after the kids and myself. You also need to handle the dry cleaning, washing the clothes, drying the clothes, folding the clothes, and putting them away in their respective rooms. All the food, so you look at the pantry and figure out what we're missing, you come up with the grocery list, do the grocery shopping, and prep all of the meals just to make sure that I have something to eat. Is there anything else? Yeah, you would also handle everything with the kids. Like if they get up overnight, you get up overnight. If there's something going on at school, you take them to and from school, you arrange all their activities. So I'm on call 168 hours a week. What about sick days or vacation days? Oh, you're right. I should have thought to mention that earlier. I'm so sorry. Yes, you will be handling all sick days with the kids, and when we have a vacation, you're going to organize it and take care of them and make sure that they're loaded up and all the stuff is packed. You'll also be packing my stuff. So will you be doing anything to contribute to the housework? I mean, I'll take the trash out and mow the lawn if you remind me. This doesn't sound like you would be very involved with the home or the kids. I'll be the one who works in the relationship. I don't want to put my career on hold for this. Wait, no, you can't quit. It would cost us over $150,000 to pay people to do what you would do every year for free.
Thanks a lot for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!